Good morning, everyone. My name is Claudio Popa. I'm coming to you from Toronto, Canada. It's morning here. I hope everyone's still awake around the world. I think this video will be archived, so a lot of you will have a chance to watch it at a reasonable hour. I welcome chats. I've turned on live chats, so feel free to write in and send some feedback. Since last year, we've, as you can see, our production values have gone down, but that's only an indication of how busy I've been with our research at Knowledgeflow and my other activities. Knowledgeflow continues to be an exciting venture for us. We have a number of people going through our program. We have a co-op program that allows students at a variety of educational institutions to take part in our cybersafety research. We do cybercrime research. We've done a number of development projects in the past year, and we're excited about some of the developments that have come out of it. So I'd like to tell you about that today. And really the point of today's video is to connect with educators and researchers around the world that are doing interesting things within the realm of cybersafety, cybercrime, and in particular, distance education. So distance education is a big deal for us. We're working on an exciting platform that will be launched in just a few weeks. And we've gone through the process of developing this thing for about 18 months now, and over the past couple of months, we've re-engineered it significantly. So we're looking forward to piloting that. And one of the reasons I'm coming to you today is because I want to make sure that we have an opportunity to connect with like-minded people, and in particular with researchers and individuals who want to pilot our new distance learning platform. But more on that in a little bit. On our stream, I emailed our friend Michael at SecRev a PDF, a downloadable PDF with an agenda for today. I think we have more time than we need today to update you on our activities. So I certainly won't necessarily take up the entire hour, but I did want to update you on what we're doing and how we're doing it. As I said, the downloadable PDF should be right next to our link on the SecRev website, and I'll certainly put a link to it right next to our video when it goes live, when it gets archived. Beyond today, beyond this morning. Okay, so who are we? So on our agenda today, you'll see that I have a couple of semi-ambitious points to make. Who are we? A reminder from last year, and I'm sure that somewhere you can probably click on last year's video. Knowledgeflow Cybersafety Foundation was incorporated a few years ago as a federal nonprofit here in Canada. That means we're dedicated and we're really interested in bringing cybersafety education into schools, producing content that could be used by other organizations, other partner organizations. Certainly, we like to work with educational institutions, and we enjoy lending some of the capabilities of our certified professionals to boards, to school boards, to individual schools, as well as to professional groups. So on occasion, I'm asked to make an appearance or to supply qualified presenters to professional groups, groups of interested professionals in particular industry sectors. And those are great opportunities for us because it allows us to focus on a particular on a particular industry and do a little bit of research to prepare for those presentations, certainly, but be able to actually talk to more than one individual at a time. On occasion, these things do get recorded. In many cases, they don't, simply because there's there's a perceived privacy concern. Of course, it's not a privacy concern because it's within a corporate setting. It's within a public corporate setting. But a lot of people who contribute to those kinds of discussions, they would prefer that their questions remain within the context of their group. So I'm just going to say welcome here to any potential chatters. Feel free to send in your questions. One of my ambitions for today, or for any time someone views this video, because I certainly don't expect people to wake up at all hours and watch it. One of them is to provide you with contact information so that you can reach out and find out about what it is that we're doing and how we can collaborate. So I did want to talk about the fact that that as a nonprofit, and I think some of you might sympathize, we don't receive funding except from public sources and except from professional associations. Sometimes we put on municipal or community seminars for children, for students, for teachers, for parents, and in those cases, local community businesses choose to sponsor those workshops. But it certainly is not a way to be in your face with corporate sponsorship. So it is the kind of thing that we would do for free anyway. But it certainly does help with administrative and accounting and other nonprofit related costs of running an actual federally incorporated corporation or organization. So our foundation does focus on education. It does focus on research, and I'll tell you a little bit more about that. So last year we worked a lot with Seneca College. This year we've moved on to working with the University of Toronto and with Ontario Tech University. Ontario Tech University has recently been renamed. It used to be called the University of Ontario Institute of Technology, UOIT. And that was quite a mouthful. And so they rebranded. And so now they're just OTU. And of course, the whole world has to get used to the new nomenclature. So I've been doing great work with them and their students for about a decade now, I want to say, but probably less. Every term, we are assigned 1, 2, sometimes more groups of graduating students. And these students are really savvy. These guys are good at software development. They're good at online research. They're good at a number of things. But what they really enjoy is the fact that they're getting professional leadership. And that leadership steers them in a particular direction. That direction being, of course, either online research. So, for example, we go on the dark web and we find out what the value of personal information is nowadays, right? So you go online, you figure out how much someone's personal data is worth, their identity, their passports, whatever other stolen information might be out there. Of course, you can extrapolate those numbers and do a variety of fairly basic stuff with them. But this past spring, so this year, we were involved in a really cool project where we worked on identity protection, identity fraud. And And what the students did there is they went online and they identified, they were able to slice um, data. They were able to slice personal information into almost 300 different facets, and those different facets are the cumulative digital identity of any individual. So it obviously, it wasn't just limited to passports and social insurance numbers and driver's licenses. It went beyond that. It went to behavioral information. And of course, if you collect enough behavioral information, it uniquely identifies you, right? So we put that together as a spreadsheet, and that served as an input for a second group that created a smart bot, a smart online interface that that people could go online and speak to. And so they would type things in, and it was hosted on a Watson platform. IBM Watson is particularly well suited to this type of intelligent or AI type interaction. It certainly reminded me of the old Ada programs that we used to make back in the 90s or earlier. And of course, people would be able to say, you know what, I got a call from what I suspect to be a fraudulent number, or I got this email, and the system would say, well, paste it in here. So you would paste the email. It would go and check it against a database, and it would say, yeah, no, this is a Nigerian letter, for example. Or you would paste in the phone number that called. So pretty cool system that was built by students who passed through our doors, and we're happy to work with them. We're happy to help them find employment after their graduation. Sometimes we keep them, sometimes we continue to work with them, and other times we help them get on with their careers. So extremely cool stuff that we're doing. And I mentioned that there's a focus on distance learning and distance education. I wanted to talk to you about that a little bit, and I apologize, I don't have screenshots, but if you connect with me based on the contact information in that handout, in that PDF, I'll be able to forward some of those screenshots along, and I'll also be able to set you up with a pilot test account so that you can try it out. The goal of this is a social e-learning platform. So the goal here is to take the fact that, you know, we're having all these one-on-one or 1-on-10 interactions in our classrooms, and it's great that we're making a contribution within schools. But what we're trying to do is make that contribution at a vast distance. So one of the studies that we did with graduating students a couple of years ago showed that there are pockets of immaturity, or risk immaturity, or cyber pockets that simply don't have access to computers, to internet, to decent information about how to behave online. Certainly netiquette is the least of people's problems in some areas, in particular here in Canada. So what we wanted to do was create a platform that allows us to get this information out there. And so we did. We created a platform that is social in the sense that it allows us to put up a list of courses, and we're looking to expand beyond just our courses. So that's another reason I want to connect with you. So we're looking to put up a list of essentially e-learning course modules that are split into individual slides, and have educators or even social workers in remote areas of Canada log into the system, put themselves through the basic training, and then put themselves through a test. And once they do that, they will likely be approved as an educator, and they can take one or more of the modules that are available online and customize it for their own audience, because no one knows their audience better than they can. So these are cultural issues that we're facing here, and we're solving those kinds of cultural problems. We often see resistance to cyber education, partly because it sounds intimidating, partly because there's no access to qualified or certified professionals to teach it. So in this case, you have someone that's embedded within a community that is able to use our tools, not just to learn, but to turn the screen around and to present to audiences that they know and that they are trusted by. So that's an exciting development, and looking forward to connecting with some of our peers and some of our colleagues around the world to share information and perhaps to even get us a little bit closer to making this platform available globally. So that's kind of in a nutshell what our goal is here at Knowledgeflow. We are open to all kinds of interesting work. I mentioned that the cyber fraud or the identity theft work that students did earlier this year. Actually, I didn't mention this. It was actually featured on television on CBC Marketplace, and that was very cool. Certainly it made them proud, and it looks good for them to have done that kind of groundbreaking research, I would even say, because they really went into depth in identifying patterns and figuring out not just how many facets an identity has, but what it takes to impersonate someone to the point where you could apply for healthcare coverage, let's say, right? So what identity elements do you need to be able to have access to or to steal in order to do that? So it goes a little bit beyond. Originally, and this happens a lot, originally we planned on creating a synthetic identity theft product. So we wanted to know how synthetic identities are created, right? And then we thought, well, wait a minute. In many cases, first of all, there's very little awareness of this. And secondly, there's very little access to information. What really gets done here is existing human beings, right? So these are not made up numbers. Existing human beings have their individual identities stolen in a very simple way. And you can go to haveibeenpwned.com, right? So every time you see a breach, Troy Hunt did us a great favor in showing us what identity elements are compromised, are stolen at any point. And in so doing, we know what database to pluck information from in order to recreate the original individual's identity, just enough to compromise it, or what's it going to take to create a brand new identity and, let's say, apply for a brand new credit card. So very cool stuff, featured on television. Certainly these students do deserve it, and they do a lot of really great work, and we connect with them on a weekly basis. We love to work with educational institutions, and that's actually part of a program called Capstone. So here in Ontario, we're fortunate in that we have access to that kind of government support, and we have access to the kind of resources that we wouldn't otherwise be able to afford. So we don't have any funding sources, any crowdsourcing or crowdfunding sources as many groups do. So any sort of government support is certainly appreciated. So this is something that does a great service to students that are about to enter the workforce, because they're obviously leveraging skills that they already have and matching them with the leadership provided by a certified professional. And we have a number of them, at least on our board of directors here at Knowledgeflow. And we're looking to expand that network through this distance learning platform, which, of course, we want to meet more professionals, and we want to make sure that we're expanding our reach, at least across the province, but ideally across Canada before going any broader than that. So what are we looking to do in the coming year? So in the coming year, we're looking to help. We have a sister company. We have Informatica Corporation is our sister company, and certainly it's been useful in providing funding for some of our ongoing operations. And one of the things that we're doing is we're trying to help out with the challenge, the pervasive challenge of commoditizing information security. I try to avoid calling it cybersecurity as much as possible because I'm an old crank, but effectively the idea that organizations are finding all sorts of roadblocks and hurdles and excuses for not adopting information security is a little bit disconcerting. I keep seeing statistics about the low levels of adoption within the small and mid-sized market. 80% of companies realize that this is top of mind for them. Cybersecurity is, but fewer than 20% actually invest more than $1,000 a year on information security. So it's not just about the numbers, of course. It's about what do you do with that $1,000, right? Because if you know what you're doing, you might be able to get a reasonable degree of risk mitigation. But what can you possibly invest in? And those kinds of decisions are critical for small businesses. So we're happy that we've connected with Industry Canada and SEC, the Standards Council of Canada, just in the past month as a new framework, a new best practices. Cybersecure Canada is the name of the new framework that is being introduced. And that's exciting because we haven't had that much leadership in the way of information security in Canada. We've got tons and certainly lots of overlapping privacy legislation here in our country, but we haven't had that much leadership within cybersecurity. And so this new, I want to say standard, but really it's voluntary, which was created by our very own spy agency, the Communications Security Establishment, the CSE, is made up of 13 control areas. And those control areas are easy for any small organization to manage. You can pick them up online. It's a free framework. It's a free resource. You download the PDFs and you're off to the races. So, of course, it's not complete. It's only got 13 control areas, but it's very flexible. And it's great for small businesses to say, hey, you know what? I'm a 7 out of 10 or 9 out of 13 or whatever it might be. It's a way to quantify your security posture. And that's very useful because a lot of small businesses are looking to do these things in-house. But what we're trying to do with Informatica is we're trying to help commoditize a lot of these tools, right? Because certainly they work with NIST CSF, they work with PCI DSS, SOC 2, etc., for large-scale compliance projects. But here we are at the bottom of the market, and so there's a bit of a brand around this. It's called Data Risk Canada, and Data Risk Canada has created a cyber benefits package that, incidentally, is available for fairly low price. But the reason I'm mentioning this is not to talk about any commercial product. It's literally because Knowledgeflow is able to, again, leverage volunteers, leverage qualified individuals to help commoditize and make some security investments actually useful. And in this case, what we're working on is creating self-assessments for small businesses. They just go online, they take a free self-assessment, they may make a donation to Knowledgeflow, for example, for $1, but they rate themselves. And by turning these simple frameworks into checklists, wow, that's a 20-minute job for anyone in the company, the IT manager, the owner, whoever it might be, to rate themselves and actually figure out what it is that they're missing. So again, it's the idea here is to expand this web of protection, right? So we're looking to have Canadian firms, perhaps firms across the border, not just raise the level of risk maturity, right? And this goes in particular for charities and not-for-profits. But we're looking for to them to reach out to their partners and customers and make sure that they too are at the same level of security and risk awareness that they are at, right? Because supply chain threats and breaches we're seeing on a daily basis. And on that daily basis, we're also seeing opportunities to do very, very simple things that would have prevented these breaches. So when you have the benefit of 2020 vision, that kind of hindsight allows you to create content that you can use to create preventative tools, right? So we've done good work this year with the ICTC and in Ottawa as well. And we're still talking to the Canadian Anti-Fraud Centre because they're putting out really valuable statistics that we're able to leverage and use. So these are the kinds of useful partnerships that we have. And certainly I appreciate that Michael Joyce invited us for the second year in a row to speak with you and share some of these exciting updates. But I do want you to make sure that you download that PDF. The handout that I mentioned earlier contains a lot of what we talked about today, at least the titles, at least what we do and who we do it with and so on. But it also contains contact information. So do hit those links, connect with me individually. My name is, again, Claudio Popa. I'm the chairman of the Knowledgeflow Cybersafety Foundation, and I'm looking forward to having all kinds of discussions. I mean, literally, we're talking to law enforcement, we're talking to cultural agencies, we're talking to a number of organizations just to see what we can do to spread awareness and spread education, because there's a lot of confusion. And as soon as we see fear driving initiatives, we can assume that yeah, there might be some funding associated with that, but at the same time, that's just not how we like to do things. We don't do things based on fear. We do things based on opportunity. And if you see the opportunities that we see, then we might be on the same wavelength. So with that, I wanted to thank everyone for perhaps logging on. I'm not sure how many people are online, but certainly for watching this video at some point in the future and connecting with me and reaching out to Knowledgeflow and helping us reach our objectives and perhaps also sharing your passion with us, because we can't do what we do without partnering with like-minded organizations. That's why we exist. That's why we're here, and we're looking to share more of our content, or perhaps be a springboard for some of you and your projects. We would love to take some of your content, or perhaps link to your research projects and your education content. Certainly, it's not a problem. Reach out to me directly. Let's see what we can collaborate on. And with that, I'm gonna give you the rest of your hour back. I will see you next year. Thanks very much for tuning in. Claudio out.